Hello, everyone. Welcome to a special live stream episode of How I Solved It. I'm Jennifer Lee, lead admin evangelist at Salesforce. And this live stream episode is inspired by my How I Solved It series. So for those who haven't caught an episode of How I Solved It yet, let me fill you in. So this series is all about tackling real-world business challenges and showcasing how one of our awesome admins came up with an epic solution. So I want to give a quick shout out to Mark Baseman, our former admin evangelist, for launching this incredible series. You can find the full playlist on the Salesforce Admins YouTube channel. Just follow the short link below. Now, today's episode comes with a little twist. For my How I Solved It fans, you know how our presenters love diving into setup and getting their hands dirty. Don't worry, you'll see that action in this episode too. But this time, we're also pulling back the curtains on something we don't usually talk about, how they designed the solution. We all know that there are countless ways to build something in Salesforce, right? But how does a trailblazer decide on a particular approach based on the requirements? Now, what thought process drives their design? And that's exactly what we'll be exploring in today's episode. So I shared a sneak peek of this at Dreamforce with Dee and Karri, and the feedback was amazing. Admins were eager for more content like this. So here we are, live. And joining Dee and Karri today are two more stars from my How I Solved It series, Skye and Brandon. And they're all been given the same business challenge. And yet, spoiler alert, no two solutions are alike. Each of them will walk you through design decisions they made and show you how they built their solutions. So before we dive in, let's see where our users are from. Folks, why don't you go and share with us where you're joining us in from? All right, and my stream deck is not working. Great. So to join the conversation during the live stream, drop your comments in the chat and connect with your fellow viewers. Now, if you have a question for me or my guest presenters, start it with a Q colon so that we can easily spot it and give you the answers that you're looking for during the Q&A segment. Now, here's what you're going to learn in today's amazing episode. We're going to learn diverse solution design techniques. You're going to see how 4 trailblazers tackled the same challenge, and you'll gain some insights into innovative problem solving from these 4 trailblazers. Okay, so awesome admins, I am beyond excited for today's live stream because we have some absolute rock stars joining us today from How I Solved It. The incredible Dee Ervin, Karri Webster, Skye Tyler, and Brandon Walton. Please, let's give them a big, huge welcome. Now, you'll hear from each of them in a little bit. So as we know, there are many ways that you can build something in Salesforce. When you have a business challenge, how do you know how to design that solution? So here are just a few things that you should consider in the design process, right? Do you build out of the platform, or do you go custom or add on with licenses? Whatever you're building, think of it as building to scale. Do you start off simplistic, right? The bare basics, or you want to go full complex? And then always consider the business process. Think about the overall user experience. And are you needing to put something out there as soon as possible? So you're willing to compromise in bringing on technical debt for the speed to market? Or do you want to ensure that you're following all the best practices and therefore it might take you a little longer to get into production? And always there's this consideration of build versus app exchange, right? If you need to go beyond the platform, do you go and custom build it, or go out to the app exchange and have folks build it for you? And then you always want to think about maintainability in mind, and building something that will allow you to easily add on in the future. And also consider the technical skill set of those on your team in terms of managing it going forward. So I pose the same business challenge to all 4 awesome admins. So Moji Incorporated is looking for a streamlined solution for our sales team to manage and revive neglected sales opportunities. So our objective here is to enable Moji's salespeople to effectively re-engage with customers, advance the sales process, and offer additional products and our services with personalized communication, and allow for quick and efficient updates to these sales opportunities. Now, I do want to give a heads up. You will see a Pomeranian pop up in these solutions. Emoji is my Pomeranian. So just to let you know, set the stage for that. All right, so now we're going to have Dee, Karri, Skye, and Brandon share with you how they tackled the solution design and how they built it. So let me hand it off over to Dee Ervin to kick us off. Take it away, Dee.
Hi. So when I looked at that business prompt, I started thinking through my high level process for this. Part of that is I identified the key business requirements. Some of the ones that stood out were those related to quick and efficient updates to the records, as well as quickly identifying those neglected opportunities. And then I mapped out the design. And my considerations included the user experience, of course, maintenance or maintainability by the admins or the resources available on the back end, and then scalability. I'll go into more of these on the next slide. And then lastly, I usually develop some type of proof of concept to validate the approach. This helps in two ways. One, it validates the design direction on my end, but it also allows me to put something in front of the users to spark even more ideas that they may want to incorporate without having a very large scale solution already built. The next slide, I want to go more into the user experience, maintainability, and scalability. So for user experience, my thought process is more around bringing information forward. So those neglected opportunities, having them already presented to the user. And I want to keep users where they are. So when those opportunities are presented, I want them to be presented in an area that the user frequents often. And this also ties into the last point where there are actions that can be taken with minimal navigation. So if the team is consistently on opportunities, I want the action to allow to be taken from opportunities. For maintainability, I see this as the experience of the admins or the backend team. So this involves clicks, not code. And when I say that, there are definitely reasons to go more programmatic over declarative. But in the initial state of a project, especially when we're building out a proof of concept, a great way to do that is with flow. And then also just for quicker launch, updates, and so forth. And then it's also easily distributed. So something like a screen flow, you can move around, you can put on various records as things change. And then lastly, which also ties into maintenance, is scalability. So when I'm looking at the potential solution, I'm also looking to, is there another use case for this solution? Is the use case expanded not only for that initial team that asked for it, but for other teams as well? How can this same structure be moved forward with very little change and still allow for other users to use it as well? So this goes into repeatable approach for other objects and teams and so forth. So my solution involved a screen flow, which I mentioned. Since screen flow components are easily distributed amongst various objects and different places within Salesforce, that was perfect to build this out. As well as I want to show records based on logged in users, so they're not seeing items they don't need to see. Insert that on frequently used objects, again, leaving users where they are, and then enabling them to not only take action on run record, but more than one if needed. So let me show you what I built in a quick demo. So this is a list of opportunities. If I open up one of these, you'll see this component here. Now, this component is a screen component that can be rendered whenever it makes the most sense. I have it rendered all the time based on the logged in user. And this is showing opportunities which have a high probability of close based on the stakeholders' requirements. You can add any type of query or filtering around this, but this is sort of what I have displayed based on this scenario. And this will allow the user to be first on the opportunity that they need to take action on. So let's say they were to close this opportunity. And now they want to move forward with also taking action on other opportunities. So here are some that may have been considered neglected. So I'm going to just select 3 of these here, select next. What this does is now bring up each one of these opportunities to allow the user to take action on each of them. So this is the first one that I selected. I can change the stage. Say I want to advance it forward. I can also relate it or send it to, relate it to any contact. This will then trigger an email to that contact. So I'm just going to pick a contact here. And then it looks like I've sent a message previously. So one of the good things is this field here is something that will retain all the messages that have been sent so that you can see the historical information there. So I'm just going to put in test here and enter in the next step and next. This will then bring up the next opportunity and I can take action on that as well. And each of these will send an email to the contact of choice. So I'm just going to pick a contact here, also type in a message and a step and next, and I'll just do the last one. And as you can see, I did do a follow-up more recently. Let's say you just want to send the same one. And after that's done, you'll have a new set of opportunities or those opportunities that you have not taken action on yet that you can then move forward with another activity from there. Now that you've seen a demo of the solution, let me show you how I built it. So the first thing is I created a custom field on opportunities to advise the follow-up message. And this is the message that will be merged in to the email template. Now, there are a lot of options with this, of course, with some of the new features that Salesforce has come out with more recently. But in this case, this is a very simple long text area field just to fill in that information that you'd like to send to the customer. This allows for that personalized message. The other item included with this is custom permissions. So this will allow the show and hide of that component very easily on the record page. And I have created one custom permission for the solution called sales. So this just checks to ensure the user that's logged in has that custom permission assigned. And if they do, then the component will render from there. And lastly, here is the Lightning record page. And as you can see, if I click on this, component, you can see one, that it is connected to the flow. And then also I would set that component visibility to include the custom permission for sales. And let me just show you how you would do that. Go to permissions, custom, and sales. And done. And that will show and hide based on that sales permission. Now, let me jump into the flow. So as mentioned, this is a screen flow that first checks for that custom permission. I want to throw back really quickly to the point I made about it being easily distributable to other teams. If it is the case that you find another use case for this when it comes to, let's say, customer success, they may have neglected cases. You could create another custom permission for those customer success users and have that be part of the decision variable within this flow and send them down a different path with a similar structure. So there's a lot of areas where this can be expanded and repeatable. So for this one, again, that was the check for the custom permission. Next is a query or a get element to get those neglected opportunities. The criteria here would be based on what information has been collected from your stakeholders. And then I have sorted the records by expected revenue and added in the variables that I need to capture. The next piece is to actually show the screen. So this screen is using the data table component. And in using the data table, I needed to do the query first in order to render that collection within the table. So that's why it is the query and then the data table. And you can see the collection it's pulling from here. The next piece is to query for the email template. So I've created an email template that will be sent to each of the customers that merges in that follow-up message. And so this is a query for the ID for that template based on the name of it. And then the last piece is where we start to see those screens come up for each one of those opportunities. So since this is a collection of opportunities here, I've looped through each of these using the loop element. And for each one, there is a screen that will show for the stage, related contact, follow-up message, and next step. A lot of flexibility here. You can add in fields, remove some of these fields. As things change with the business process, you may need to update this screen along the way, but that's a quick and easy update. The structure is here. The next piece would be to assign that follow-up message to a variable that will then be merged into the email. And then lastly, we have the email that is sent. And this email just includes a quick text template in there, the recipients, we want to log it upon send, just the simple email send. And then I have a fault path in here. Part of this is because you're able to select multiple, I don't want to stop the process because there was an error in the email send because of an email address or any reason like that. So this will post an error to Chatter for that particular opportunity and then continue with the process. And this involves the message will simply be the fault message that has been generated by the flow. And once it loops through all of these, the last step is that the opportunities are updated with the updated stage. The last activity date, of course, is updated because an email has been sent. The follow-up message. And I'm going to pass it on to Karri to show you how she solved it.
Thank you so much, Dee. All right. So this was a really fun project here, and especially the four of us got to do this. And again, there's 4 different diverse solutions. My overall design process is similar to Dee. So first, I'm going to pick up those design requirements, or the define those requirements and kind of refine them, clean them up a little bit. Then I brainstormed all of the different options, and then finally I played matchmaker. Okay, so when I define the requirements, I typically break things down using something called the Gherkin method. The Gherkin method is a simple given, when, then statement. So it helps me break down the persona. So given I'm a sales team member, and then kind of my trigger when a sales opportunity is neglected. In this case, I need to refine things a little bit more and define exactly what it means for a neglected opportunity. Then I can, and this is my checklist of things that need to happen. I need to be able to re-engage with customers, advance the sales process, offer additional products and or services with personalized communication, and quickly and efficiently update the opportunity. So now I'm into this brainstorming space, right? So I know exactly what my end goal is. How am I going to do it? This is where I find out any certification that I've taken in the past or any former implementations, projects that I've been on really come into play. I think of any and every possible solution or possible way to get things done. And then finally, I play matchmaker. I have all these ideas. Now we got to pick one, right? So when I'm playing matchmaker, there's kind of some basic things I do. I want to look at first what's natively available, what's already in Salesforce that was either provided by Salesforce, so that's the native part of it, or what's something that has already been built out that myself, or maybe in a work case, a team built out that just needs some enhancements. And then I also want to think through what are users already using. So if communication is typically through email, then I want to think, okay, that's how we're going to communicate. But if it was through something else like Slack or something else, then we can kind of go through and help. That helps us, again, bring those solutions down. And then finally, what new features might solve this problem? Sometimes this is just me selfishly wanting to learn and try and play with some of the new stuff that Salesforce has provided all of us trailblazers with. All right, my solution. So in order for the sales team for Mochi Inc. to be able to re-engage with their customers, I provided a follow-up button on the utility bar. I'll show it in just a second. And that it's going to render a screen flow. That screen flow is going to go through, there's going to be a couple different things that trigger through there. There's a prompt template that's going to allow the user to have a custom email. That custom email is going to have information with recommended products that their recommendations that the customer might want to consider. And then kind of a final piece on this, I touched on this earlier, why email? So in this case, our users are already using email. And an additional piece too is why the utility bar. So if this particular sales team was using their mobile device or an iPad, something along those lines, then I might want to think of something else because the utility bar is specific to desktop. All right, now for the fun part. All right, so I have a follow-up button down here. You can't really see it on the shared screen, but it's just under this section here. When a user goes and they select this follow-up button, there are a handful of neglected opportunities. And again, we talked earlier about having to refine and define exactly what it means to have a neglected opportunity. In my case, it was looking at some specific activities where the due date was past due. So Mochi Inc., I kind of expanded the definition of Mochi Inc. a little bit. So in my case, Mochi Inc. is the parent company to Mochi Rentals, Mochi Events. It's not on here, but also Mochi Cupcakes. So in this case, there is somebody out there that is going to throw a New Year's Eve party. It's just around the corner. And so we're wanting to re-engage with this customer. And this solution is using Gen AI, so it does take just a second to kind of think through things. And we'll see even in another moment here, kind of the process in terms of the different stuff that it's pulling in here. And this is where I cross my fingers and hope that it works well. The prompt builder itself, and I'll go into that in a second, it offers a lot of flexibility. So there's a lot of really neat things you can do. So here is the response that came through. I have my recipient, I have my subject, and then the body of the email. So in terms of the personalization piece of it, this is what was generated through Gen AI. I'm now able to go through. This is just a personal preference. I don't really like the spacing, so I'm going to make a couple updates. And then I noticed sometimes too, it didn't happen in this situation, but sometimes it'll have like the phone number here and the phone number below. So I'll make those updates. Before I hit send, I want you to notice a couple things. These emojis right here, okay? So they're kind of going along with this theme of this New Year's Eve party. So that's one thing to notice. Another thing is there are 6 items here, and this free consultation is at the top. Again, we'll talk through the prompt template in a minute, but those were based off of very specific instructions. So since this is Gen AI, I want to make sure that our users are validating and looking through this email before they send it off. In this case, the user has to come through and acknowledge that, yes, they did peek through, they made whatever updates they needed. And then once they have selected yes, then the send email button is available. Now, if they hit this start over, that could just, maybe they don't like at all what Gen AI produced. So they could hit start over and it would go through and it would run through and it would look at the products again and it would create just recommendations from there. So we're going to hit yes. We're going to send the email. And then we're going to go and check that email here in just a second. All right, so I'm going to refresh. Okay, so let's start the new year with bang with Mochi Events. And you'll notice too that the spacing changed just how I changed it in the actual screen flow. Okay, so that was the actual demo itself. We're going to hop into the way that this happened. One thing to notice here, I might have this pop-up come up. I just wanted to make a little note on the data model itself. So, and I'm going to refresh this because you'll see that that call got logged. So this is that email right here. It's not actually 10:57. My org is set to a different time zone. Okay, so in here, notice I have contact roles set up on my opportunity contact roles. And then I also have the products here. So the products, if I selected that there, I've got it saved here. There were 6 specific products. In that email, you notice the 6 different bullet points. So those were the recommendations there. In my prompt, we're going to see it in just a second. The prompt instructions are saying, hey, this is free. Make sure to really target this and put it at the top. So in any of the emails that I go and produce through Gen AI, this free consultation piece is always going to be at the top. After that piece is in there, then it's going to list the following. It'll list the other products that are associated with that opportunity. When I was designing my solution, the biggest challenge for me was figuring out, okay, how can I make these recommendations based off of different products that are associated with this opportunity? And again, this was kind of I was newer to using Prompt Builder. I wanted to use Prompt Builder, one, just so I could get my hands on it and get some experience with it. But I had also heard that there's a lot of flexibility in that. I will say, a side note to all of this, for any Gen AI stuff, the more information and the more details that is in your Salesforce org, the better. So this one in particular is definitely living off of the name of the product and that description. So setting things up definitely is crucial. This piece right here, it's called a template triggered prompt flow. I will be calling it TTPF for short, because that's a long phrase there. And this is helping me. Right now, it's only retrieving the products that are associated to the opportunity. And then it's going to give two different sets of directions. I wanted it to have a set of directions in the situation where there were products associated to that opportunity. But I also wanted it to have a separate set of directions in the situation where there were not any products associated to the opportunity. So I won't dive into it too much, but essentially this right here is collecting the name and the descriptions for the products that are associated to the opportunity. This one over here is giving some basic instructions saying, okay, again, so it's a separate set of instructions, and I just wanted it to be in a light tone to encourage users to go to, I put fakeportal.com. So let's say that let's say Mochi Inc. has a website that has a full list of all of their products. We didn't want to just leave it at nothing, but we wanted to give the end users a kind of a call to action, even if there weren't any products related. Okay, this piece is going to be very important, and it's for those of you that have worked with prompts, I don't know, this part was neat. It was kind of fun for me. So here I have my prompt, and I'm giving some basic instructions. I'm telling it, okay, you're a sales team member, you had this call, it was neglected. And then the ultimate piece of this is writing this email with these specific instructions. So this is where within my instructions, I'm receiving, or I'm anchoring my prompt with those products that are associated with the opportunity. And again, if there are not any products associated to my opportunity, my prompt also has instructions of what to do. And then I have some simple instructions in terms of including the sender name and the sender phone. I probably could have done this in there as well. For this particular situation, I just wanted to have a little fake email in there. It was invalid, so I didn't accidentally send it off or do anything weird with it. Some other items, the piece that I talked about first. So let's see here, the emojis. There's some other things too. I'll get back to the emojis in a second, but for a little while, Gen AI was calling mochi cakes, like it was talking about things being flavored mochi, or it would think of it, mochi cakes, as a rental. So it kind of took some testing, and then I can kind of go through and figure out, okay, and tell the prompt that, okay, if you're going to use mochi cakes, it's not something you rent. They're cupcakes you serve at an event. So it was a little trial and error to figure out exactly the directions I wanted to go. And then at some point, I kind of wanted to stretch the limits a little bit. I was like, okay, is it going to do anything with emojis? Emojis always make things fun. So I found out, yes, it does things with emojis. And then on top of that, I wanted it to be something that was in the theme of the actual event that was going to be going on. I have some other ones that I've tested it on, like Thanksgiving and different ones, and it would bring up, a turkey or fall leaves, that kind of stuff. So the prompts, you can really get creative, lots of trial and error, but definitely encourage you to go in there and see what you can do. Okay, so I have my flow here next. So far I've done my template triggered prompt flow, and then I've put that into a prompt. So now how are we going to interact with users? We have our screen flow here. This screen flow, similar to what Dee was talking about, you can put these different areas of the org, and in this case, using the utility bar. So when a user selects that, not re-engage, but follow-up button, then this is what's going to trigger. So first I wanted to get the trigger, or the record type. If you recall, it's a child company of a parent company. So making sure you have the specific record type, especially in a shared org, is very important. And then I wanted to get past due tasks. Any of these, I will tell you, it's a little bit larger flow. Any of these, we will have more details in the blog. So I just wanted to point that out. Like, don't feel like you have to capture every single thing or every way that we did it. This one here, I will say I didn't put it in here. Again, demo org. But if I were in another org, I definitely want to put the owner. I'm not sure why I didn't put it here. And I would do it as the running user. Okay. Next, we're going to say, does this task collection, does it have any records? If it does not have any records, then it will go over and it will show another screen, basically saying there's no tasks to follow up on. If it does, it's going to come over here, and we're going to start looping through these tasks to see if there are any past due. So first we're getting our collection, and then inside of here, and we're capturing the IDs, I believe. It's been a minute since I've really collected or poked into some of these. Okay, so we're capturing the IDs, and then next we're going to go into here and see if those IDs are inside of this neglected opportunities collection. So, because if you recall, up here we're talking about the tasks. So now we're going to see if the ID was inside of that neglected opportunities piece. All right. Okay, so opportunities with overdue discovery calls. This is our screen initially where the users are able to go and select the specific opportunity person they want to reach out to. And then we have the get primary contact. The primary contact was coming from that opportunity contact role. And then we're going to go ahead and assign some values. And this will be specific. These will be used within the email in just a minute. And then the response piece is very important. So let's see here, data table. So this related object is the particular opportunity that we had earlier. And then this is your specific contact, like the person you're sending it to. And then the sender is you. And then this piece in here, I'm going to explain a few of these things. So this is another screen. This is the screen that comes up that has the actual subject and body for the email. So in this case, if you recall, I had that prompt response, and I ended up doing a formula to parse out the subject and to parse out the body. And then that way the users can go in and interact with it. So again, you don't have to like write all this out. This will be in the blog, but I came over and I'll even put formula. I won't go through each of these, but you'll definitely, so you have your formulas there. This is going to pull out that information, and then the users can interact with that and they can make changes as they need to. This right here, this decision element is based off of those buttons that we had for the user to acknowledge and then finally be able to send the email. And then over here in the email or the send email, I'm going to show you a couple things on this. So we are no longer using that formula for the body of the email. Now we're going to use the actual screen and the screen component. That way we're getting the updated email body, and same with the email subject that has the updates to it. And then finally it ends off with a success message. Again, similar to Dee, I have fault paths on these. My preference is I typically handle my faults with a subflow. I'm not going to dive into that here, but I have the same exact fault path or subflow that I use for all of my screen flows. So that's been something that's been very helpful and useful to me. And then finally, where it lives, from App Builder, you come into the utility and then you put in the specific flow. If you are doing this and you don't see the flow in there, just verify that your flow is activated. Jen, that is how I designed and solved it. And Skye, off to you.
Great. Thank you so much, Dee and Karri. And also, just as a reminder for anyone who's joined us recently, you can ask questions in the comment section. Please start your comment question with the letter Q so that we can find them easier after we've gone through all of our how we solved it designs and demos. So for my how I designed it piece, I love collecting information from our end users so that I can make sure that what we're designing for them is actually going to meet their needs. So for this part, I met with the sales team and made sure that we clearly identified what constituted neglected customers or opportunities so that we all had an agreed upon criteria for that. But then I also wanted to make sure that I really understood how they planned to work this new re-engagement process into their other daily activities. I didn't want it to be something that was out of the norm or they had to remember to go and do something. So really making sure that the solution was front and center for them and easily available so that they would remember and be more likely to complete those re-engagement actions. Once we've decided what constituted the neglected customers or opportunities, we then needed to go through and identify what the data was so that we could pull the correct responses back to them. And what we discovered is that the data lived on a couple of different records, and sometimes the key data points lived on related records. So needed to have the ability to not just look at, let's say, the opportunity, but potentially records that were related to the opportunity. And one of the things that came up as really critical for our sales team is that they only wanted to see their accounts or their opportunities that were considered as neglected so that there wasn't confusion about sort of stepping on each other's toes. The last constraint that came up was that the solution couldn't incur additional costs. So couldn't look at paid third-party products or acquiring additional licenses or Salesforce features that would require additional costs. So those were some of the design considerations that came up as we were working with the Mochi sales team. And the way that I designed this and the solution is using a guided screen flow. Screen flows have been very popular so far in how we solve things because they're really flexible and can give not only you as an admin a lot of tools, but then also just really give those users the support that they need. So we added a guided screen flow that's right on the sales team's homepage. So it's front and center every time they log in. And the screen displays a table of their neglected customers. They're going to have the choice to either look at neglected accounts, so the actual customers or businesses themselves, or they can choose from neglected opportunities. And I solved this by using the Salesforce Labs free app data fetcher. It results in a dynamic data table that returns results based on a query. And I've also added in some really fun unofficial Salesforce tools to help make this list sort and filterable for the end users to really be able to narrow down on which opportunity or account they wanted to focus on. And just as a quick note, both Data Fetcher and some of the unofficial Salesforce tools do install code in your instance. So make sure that you review your company's standards for installing third-party code. What was really important was allowing the users to be able to filter down or narrow down the results in the table so that they could find the best customer or the best opportunity in which to make these efforts. And then once they've selected a customer or an opportunity to work with, it allows them to take actions directly within that flow, which updates the corresponding records. So that's the behind the scenes part of the design logic. Let's jump into what this actually looks like for our Mochi users. So from our Mochi Inc. homepage, as I mentioned, the screen flow is right front and center on their homepage when they log in. We do provide a little bit of additional information. So this helps people understand or remember what the purpose of this was, and also gives them directions about what actions to take. So from here, we're going to start first by looking at our neglected accounts. And this again has directions available at the top that can be customized. Now you will note there's an admin SOQL debug statement showing here. This would be set to be conditionally visible only to administrators, but it's really helpful to be able to see what that dynamic SOQL statement is returning. So for troubleshooting purposes, but for your end users, they're never going to see the SOQL statement. It wouldn't make a lot of sense to most of them anyway. So from here, you will see though in the SOQL statement that is already filtered down to the running user. So as the owner, it's only going to show opportunities or accounts that I own. And I do have a last contact date, and that is also pre-filtered to just show the last contact date where it's greater, it's 90 days. So this can be edited or changed based on your user requirements. And the unofficial Salesforce gives you some quick button actions, also gives you some options for sorting and filtering. So you can change the order in which the items are displayed. And you'll notice every time I click anything in the sort by or the filter options, the SOQL statement is automatically updating. So it's a dynamic statement. And then as we start to scroll over larger and larger annual revenue values, you'll notice that the table, the number of returned results, is decreasing. If I don't find or I can't identify the one that I want to work with, I can click the reset filters and clears everything out. And now I can sort by other factors besides ones that were already selected. And if I decide I actually don't want to work with any of these particular accounts, I want to hop back down to opportunities. The same principle applies, but now it's sorting and filtering by opportunities instead of by accounts, but it is still just showing me my opportunities with some preset filters. And again, same principle of being able to sort and filter, changing the opportunity value, changing the stage name. But let's say I want to go ahead and take some action. So once I select the opportunity that I want to take an action on, I have the ability to send an email or log a call. We're going to choose the log a call option. It does pre-populate the subject for the task, but that can be edited, add in some additional details, update the close date to a date in the future if it needs to be edited or changed. And we're going to say, I think this might actually move into next year. And then I could also change the stage of the opportunity based on whatever the outcome of the call was. And whenever I update that, if I go back and look at the opportunities again, that one is no longer going to show in my list of neglected opportunities because now the action has been updated to show more recently touched or impacted or re-engaged. So that's what it looks like for our end users. Let's go ahead and hop into what the screen flow looks like. So in the screen flow, the first page is that page that shows on the home page, again, with the text that you're able to edit to provide the information that your users need to be successful. We have some of the unofficial Salesforce flow button bars, which can then be used further down in the flow for the decision elements about which path to take in the flow. And this is just a nice way to be able to not have to ask your users to toggle or select a radio button and then click next. So it's reducing the number of clicks for your users. Based on which action they selected from the flow button bar, either accounts or opportunities, the flow takes you down the corresponding path. We're going to just focus for a moment on the opportunities, but both of the decision elements are fairly the same from that point on. It's just focusing on one object versus the other. So in the next screen flow piece, as I mentioned, we have the directions that show to the users, and then we have that admin SOQL debug that's only going to show to the admins. The data fetcher element itself is a headless component So it's never going to show, this particular component never actually shows on the screen to your end users, but it does run behind the scenes and executes that SQL query as you define it. You can type your SQL query itself straight into the SQL query field. So you could, if it was not needing to be dynamic, you could type in select ID, comma, name from opportunity where, blah, blah, blah. But in this case, we can't use just typing directly in because we need to make it dynamic. We need to have it only return opportunities for the running user and only return opportunities where it's not yet closed or where the close date is within the next X number of days. And we'll talk a little bit more about how we design this in just a second. But then just highlighting, we also have another flow button bar here that gives you the opportunity to let your users reset filters or return back to that main screen. As we scroll down a little bit further, we've added in a couple additional Salesforce, unofficial Salesforce options, which is the quick choice option. And this is where it's allowing you to define the order in which you want the records to display. And so in this case, I've set static values and I can define the order. Do I want it ascending or descending based on amount or close date? And then as those options are selected, the answers or the values is what gets fed back into the SQL query to filter it. And then the same thing applies on this side. We've got a slider option that allows you to change the value. And then we've got a couple of other quick choices. In this case, though, instead of having to do a static value, we're actually just picking the data set is the opportunity stage field. So it's automatically going to pull what those stage values are. And then the last thing to note on here is the Salesforce standard reactive data table. And it became reactive. I'm going to get the date completely wrong, but I believe it was sometime early 2024 or late last year, 2023. But this became a reactive data table. And in this case, the source of the data table is the entire list of retrieved records that are generated by the data fetcher component that's pulling, in this case, the neglected opportunities. So it's referencing the results of this particular component. Now, to get the real magic of the reactivity of this, we actually need to take a look at that SQL query formula. And so in the formulas section of your elements, when we open the fetch SQL opportunities, this is a text field where we're able to define what should show in that query based on what's selected from other places on that screen. And so just as an example, this first part here is all sort of hard-coded. This does not change regardless of what other values are selected. But then looking at each of these next if statements, if the slider opportunity amount is blank, then just return nothing. We don't need to add anything else to the SQL query. But if it is not blank, then we're going to add this bit of text to the end of the SQL query. And then this piece in particular is just referencing the value, the current value from that opportunity amount slider. So you can have just about as many of these as you want or need to be able to provide the refining and the filtering of the results in that data table. And then just as another quick note here, we're looking whether or not opportunities have additional products associated to them. And so this actually has a nested query inside of this query. So this is where sometimes the details need to be on related records. This is really hard, if not impossible, to do with just a standard get element to be able to look at those relationship chains. So in this case, you can use nested queries within your SQL query for data fetcher to show or return the values that you need. And then once a user has selected a particular record, the decision element applies up for whether they want to log a call or send an email. Going through the example that we had, once we filled out the log a call details, it's going to create that activity that shows with the details we populated from logging the call. It's going to update the opportunity to show that changes have been made. It's no longer now considered neglected, and it won't show back up in the list until it meets the criteria again. And then it also updates the corresponding account record to show that the account has been engaged within the last 90 days. So if the user finished this process for that one opportunity and then happened to go back down the path to search for their accounts to re-engage, that one would no longer show up in the list of neglected accounts because activity has been taken on that particular business or that particular relationship. So this is how I solved it using Data Fetcher, one of my favorite all-time Salesforce Labs free apps, along with some great features from the unofficial Salesforce community. And I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Brandon to see how he solved it.
Thank you, Skye. That was really, really cool. Nicely done. Dee and Karri, also great work as well. So last but not least is my solution here to talk a little bit about how I designed it. And working with the Mochi team, it was important for them that they were able to continue using the great Salesforce functionality that they were familiar with, that they've been using currently. They were not interested in deterring from the processes that they already had in place. So my approach in designing a solution for the Mochi sales team was, one, focus on making incremental changes over time so that we weren't introducing too many new things all at once to confuse the sales team. We don't want to interrupt any existing workflows and things that are working well. We want to leverage as much of Salesforce native features as possible so that it's easy to administer. So if tomorrow I win the lottery and I'm no longer their admin, it's not a complex shift for someone else to come in and replace my work. So we really wanted to focus on things that the team was familiar with and confident in using already that were native to Salesforce. Secondly, we wanted to leverage the newest technology available. We wanted to really take a look at Agentforce and what's available and how we can really push Mochi into the future by leveraging all of the AI features in Salesforce. So what we decided to do in our solution was leverage, again, some of those great features that the team has been using for forever. We want to be able to leverage our existing Lightning reports and list views. That's going to be the feature. That's going to be what we use to assess data quality and provide gap analysis so that not only an admin can go in and do it, but each individual sales user has the ability to go in, take a look at their opportunities, take a look at things that they should be working on in their opportunities so that they can self-service and drive their own results in their neglected opportunities. Then secondly, we wanted to enable the Einstein activity feature, the Einstein features that they had available to them. That includes things like Einstein activity capture, conversation insights, that when we flip on, it's going to connect email. It allows them to connect to other tools so we can get additional activity metrics available for the teams to leverage. We also enabled some generative AI features as well, and that's what we're going to be focusing on today. Einstein sales emails, where we can create prompts to generate emails for our sales users. And we also wanted to take a look at some of the other Einstein features that we were lucky and fortunate enough that the Mochi team had access to. They're not available in every single org, but we're going to take a look at things like opportunity scoring. We're going to take a look at field generation. We're going to take a look at Einstein next best actions and recommendation builders so that we can guide Mochi salespeople that when they're working on these neglected opportunities, that they can really get the most out of it and work to close their opportunities. So let's jump in. Right now, we're looking at the Mochi home screen here, and we're logged in as our top rep, Jennifer Lee. She's already crushed her quota, but it's into the year, and we want to make sure that she's positioned for next year as well. So starting out, we're going to take a look at our opportunities here. We created a view for each individual representative called My Neglected Opportunities. What My Neglected Opportunities are is this is a list view that's going to be personalized for every user. It's going to show them, right now it's on all opportunities because this is a demo org, but we would toggle this to My Opportunities. We want to find opportunities that the last activity was greater than a month ago. I think there might be some changes of the filters here, but the idea is we wanted the last activity was greater than a month ago, or it was modified greater than a month ago, or the last stage change was greater than a month ago, and the opportunity was not closed or not won. And that gave us a list of opportunities here. Some of the fields that we're working with here, we have this opportunity name, the opportunity account, the stage, the close date, the expected close date, the amount, and this is that first Einstein feature that we're talking about here, the opportunity score. So with opportunity score, this is a feature that Einstein is doing some analysis for us. So again, this is not something that we have to build or build in the logic for. Einstein is going to take a look at all of our data and create some recommendations for us, as well as generate a score. So we see this opportunity has a score of 7. And what's driving this score is you can see some top positives, but you can also see some top negatives. So it's saying some of the negatives is we haven't had a lot of success within the technology industry, and the opportunity has been moving really slowly. This opportunity has been open since October 13th, 2022. So that's an opportunity that we know we want to take a look at, this open source services opportunity. I already have an opportunity open that we'll jump into to take a look at some of the things that we've done to the opportunity to allow a Mochi sales rep who's identified an opportunity that they want to work to re-engage that opportunity and drive some success with it. So first and foremost, we have the next best action here. Right now, based off of the opportunity stage, it's making a recommendation to offer funds to the customer. So we have marketing development funds that the opportunity owner knows that they can use right here. So as Jennifer is re-engaging with this opportunity, she has this visual cue here letting her know that there might be marketing development funds available that she can then reach out to for this account. Secondly, we have this new section that we created called an agent force summary. We'll go ahead and expand that. And this is a generative field, an Einstein generative field that we have called Einstein Summary that we've used creating agent force. So in this field, this is going to give us a summary of all of the key information we need to know about this opportunity. This is going to pull in information from the account, from any associated contact roles, so that it's all visible right here in a singular section. And the user doesn't need to jump around and search Salesforce and spend a bunch of time doing additional research on this account, on this opportunity. Now, like Karri was saying, anytime you're using these generative AI fields, it does require the data being inside of the platform. So you will want to make sure that you do have account information that exists to feed into here. So as we take a look at what's included in this Einstein summary, it's giving us a probability of the opportunity based off of the stage. It's letting us know that there are no related products and quantities and orders associated with the opportunity, so that might be a concern for our neglected opportunity. It gives us some information about the Haven Enterprises account. Haven Enterprises is a market leader in its field. We do have previously won opportunities with them with a total value of $275,000, $275,600, and they've made 7 purchases in the past, indicating a likelihood to buy again. There are no contacts associated with this opportunity, so they're recommending we add a contact to this contact role so we can drive this opportunity forward. And then it's also reminding us to check the next best actions for recommendations on how to progress the deal forward. And then it lets us know this summary was created by AI and generated by Mochi. Now, one of the things I've done in preparation for this is I've actually gone in and I've added a contact role. So I've found Ryan Gray for Haven Enterprises, and I've added Ryan Gray as our contact role. So I can go back to this detail. I can click this magical edit button here. And then I've got these stars indicating that we're going to be using Einstein Agent Force to update this. So Einstein is going to analyze this data. It's going to analyze a prompt that we've used to feed this field, and it's going to generate this updated field for us. You can see it's wrapped in HTML, so that's where we get our bolded fields, and we get those nice clean line breaks, making each paragraph easy for us to follow. So most of these have not changed, other than we now have a contact that we can associate with it because we've added that contact role. I'm going to hit use. It's been added to the field. Thank you, Agent Force. And I'm going to hit save. And now we were able to grab that big, huge update, pulling in data from multiple sources, pulling in contact role information, and then give us this feed right here on the opportunity. So we have a nice summary that I can go and share with my leadership. I now have a guide as I'm going to sell this opportunity. Now, where I can go from here is I can take a look at Ryan Gray. Email is a big sales tool for us here at Mochi. So we're going to send an email. Now, what we're going to do with our email is we're going to draft this email with Einstein. So rather than me using a template that has to be built by an admin every single time, I'm going to go here and draft with Einstein. Now, as a sales user, I do have the ability to create my own instructions and my own prompt. But one of the things that we've learned at Mochi is not every single sales rep yet is a prompt engineer. Good thing we have some prompt engineer skills. So we have this reignite engagement email. This is pulling in products from that opportunity. We're going to select the product here. And then this is going to draft the whole email for us. We can sit here, we can be making our calls, we can be looking at the records, but wow, that was pretty quick. And let's take a look at this email that it drafted for us. So it's personalized. It says, "Hey Ryan, it's a very sales speech. It's informal. Nice subject. Exciting opportunity awaits you. At Mochi Incorporated, we're dedicated to building successful businesses like yours. That's why we're introducing our starter kit designed specifically for new customers like Haven Enterprises. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. We're here to help." Now, one thing that our reps have to do still, this is going to be one of those incremental changes that we'll add down the road. But as a sales rep, I have to put in some dates and times that I would want to meet Ryan. So I have a prompt here or a visual cue here to let him know when I would be available to link. Some other things that we can add here is we might fetch in from that user record. Maybe it's a schedule time link. There's multiple tools out there, Calendly, things like that we can link in here that provide a link for this customer to use to schedule time with us. We're going to ease into those advancements, but for now, it's going to be on our sales reps to provide that date and time. Once it looks good, we're going to hit done here. We like that. And then we're ready to hit send. So now Jennifer can hit send here. She's able to write very professional emails, all with prompts. So now let's jump into how we built it. Okay, I'm not going to go so much into the creating list views because that's something that I think a lot of admins have experience with doing. But one of the things that's been on my journey for 2024 is really embracing Agentforce, really embracing AI. So for a very long time, us admins have this saying of clicks, not code. My mantra for this year has been prompts, not clicks. So let's see how we set these things up with Prompt Builder. And actually, before we do that, I did want to show for those who, I find that a lot of companies do have access to some of these great Einstein features that they're older than the Agentforce stuff. They're more of the predictive and analytic AI tools that you have access to. Things like Einstein Activity Capture, great thing to turn on. Einstein Opportunity Scoring is something that I'm a big fan of. And if you have access to, it's just one of these features that you can toggle on. And once it's on, you have some very simple settings that you can go through to implement this and turn it on. So we'll just do a quick run through of the setting options that you have when going through opportunity scoring, because I think it's very impactful. So you can choose whether you're going to have your opportunity scoring work on all opportunities or opportunities that meet a certain criteria. In larger organizations that have different opportunities that might mean different things, you may consider doing some filtering on your opportunities. Most organizations that I've worked with, doing it on all opportunities is ideal because it's going to give this LLM, this data set, more opportunities to learn from. And then we can consider all opportunity fields, or we can exclude specific fields. Again, I typically suggest using all of your fields. That way, the AI is able to train itself on as much data as possible. And then do we want to analyze data from Einstein Activity Capture? So Einstein Activity Capture is another tool that should be available for just about everyone now. I strongly recommend turning it on. What it does is it's going to sync between your email accounts, your calendars, and when those conversations are happening back and forth, it stores that data and it actually provides Einstein insights on those as well. So we're going to say, yes, we want to also use the conversational information that we're grabbing from Einstein activity capture as well in our assessments. And then it just starts doing its job. We don't have to do any more clicks. We don't have to do any more programming. We don't have to do any more anything else. We just sit here and let Einstein run its process. And that gets Einstein opportunity scoring set up for us. The next thing that we're going to want to turn on for the Mochi team is going to be all of the great Einstein features. So when we type in Einstein here, we can see in this particular organization, they have a ton of stuff available. We're going to start out with Einstein setup. So in going to Einstein setup, the first thing that you want to do is make sure that the Einstein stuff is set on. So inside of your organization, if you're an admin that's interested in taking a look at these Einstein features, the first thing that you're going to do is go to Einstein setup and turn on your Einstein features. And that's going to turn on all of these great Einstein tools. And then what we're really focused on for this demonstration today is our prompt builder. So prompt builder has a lot of power packed into it. We've seen a lot with flows. There's going to be a lot of great things that we can do with prompt builder and flows. There's going to be a lot of great things that we can do directly on our records, like you saw field generation with flows. And we can also generate sales emails with flows. And I think what's important to learn is how to write great prompts and how great prompts can really save us a lot of time as admins and really create powerful solutions for our sales users. So we're going to start out by taking a look at that opportunity summary that we created. And actually, I can pop over to it right here. So one of the really nice things about prompt building inside of Salesforce is we are able to leverage our Salesforce data directly in the prompts. For folks who have used AI tools like Claude, GPT, other tools that are out there, you're familiar with this idea of writing prompts into a machine and having the machine send us a response. One of the powerful features about doing it with Salesforce is being able to create those prompts, but having those prompts directly connected to all of our Salesforce data. So right now on our prompt, we're able to tell our prompt, the purpose of this prompt is to help the sales team for the organization collaborate a concise sales approach for the opportunity record. So the opportunity account name, you can see the input opportunity that this field is going, or that this field is going to go onto, the account, and we're pulling the name from that account record. Using the data provided in this prompt. Generate a concise summary for this sales opportunity to help quickly understand its current status. It must include key insights such as the stage of the sales process, recent customer interactions, pending tasks or follow-up, and recommended actionable next steps to advance the deal using all available data in its assessment. So when you're writing good prompts, the first thing that you want to do is make sure that the prompt has a clearly defined purpose for what it's doing. We're also then going to give it specific instructions for things to do and not to do. So these are rules that we want our prompt to follow. We're going to mention checking the next best action at the end on how to progress the deal forward. We're going to tell our generative AI only to use limited HTML markup because we don't want to break our field. We are using a Salesforce rich text field that will not support full HTML. It'll be important to use paragraph format to make this field easy to read. So that's how we were able to get every paragraph wrapped in that piece. So we didn't just get one big long sentence. We were able to clearly see paragraph 1 separate from paragraph 2, separate from paragraph 3. And now we're giving our prompt guidance on what to generate in the response, so we have some consistency in those responses. So we're telling it to start out with the account name. The phrase should include opportunity summary for the account name. The first paragraph, we're giving it rules for the first paragraph, and we're giving it some instructions. So what I love about prompt building in my prompt building journey is back in the day when we were doing code, you would be writing a series of if statements in like an Apex class, right? And then Flow made that better by saying, you know what, you don't need to go down this Apex class way to write, these if statements. Now we can do these by creating these paths in these flows. Now in Prompt Builder, what's awesome is we can do the exact same thing. So even if I have never written a single line of Apex code in my life, I just have to type in what I want my if statements to be, and the prompt is going to be smart enough to identify and understand those and give me great results. That's where I say we're moving to a world from prompts, not clicks. Very exciting times. We have a section here that we're labeling clearly data. And then we're just using this resource builder up here in Prompt Builder. Very similar. If you've been doing things inside of flows, this should be pretty comfortable to you. We're able to pull in our flows. We're pulling in current user information, organization information, or opportunity information. And in our opportunity information, we can get a record snapshot. We can also pull in related information to the opportunity as well. So we build our data here. So this is the data that is going to be used when our prompt is returning those results. In the second paragraph, include information about the related products. It is important to include a summary of the products. So one of the problems with the opportunity that we showed in the demo, it did not have any related products. But if we did have products related to that opportunity, it would pull in those related products and information related to them and tag that as our selling data. Then in the third paragraph, contain brief information about the account. So we're going to be looking into the account record. We're going to give our prompt some rules for dealing with the account record. If the account has previous spend in the sum of close one value, this is a formula field that lives on our account record, mention that in the summary. This value must be displayed as a currency with a $ sign. This is easy for Mochi because we're only in the US. I could imagine that if you were dealing with multiple currencies, you want to keep that in mind. But again, we're giving each paragraph in the prompt specific rules for it to follow so that we can get precise results in each return. If the account close one opportunities is 0 or the sum of the one value is 0, the prompt should inform that this is still a net new opportunity for organization name. So it's letting us know that, hey, this account has not purchased anything from us before. So keep that in mind as you're moving forward with them. So in the account data here, we're pulling in the account description, the account name, that field, the sum of close value 1, the count of close 1 summaries, and the sales account plan if provided. So this is something that came in from one of our SDO fields as well. Then in the final paragraph, we want to mention any relevant contacts that are associated. So we're saying bring in all of the contact roles. And then we have a rule here that says if there are no contacts associated with this opportunity, we recommend creating a contact role ASAP. And that's what you saw before we added that contact role to the opportunity. And then conclude the statement or conclude the summary that this was created by AI and generated by the username. And that's how we were able to create that great field where all our users have to do is push a button to update that. You can also use these prompts in flows and in other places as well to automate that further. The next AI feature that we implemented was that email prompt. So similarly, we're going to give a very clear description to our AI to build our email for us. We're giving it instructions. We're letting the AI know who it is, what role it's playing here. You are a sales executive and your name is, again, that sender name for the person sending that email. We're giving it context of the company name. We're giving it information of who the recipient is going to be, what their title is, and the account that they're working for, and the purpose. You want to reconnect with your customer here. We're going to give it some rules here. These are a lot of these are actually provided by Salesforce in this template as well. But we want to make sure that it's considerate to things like socioeconomic statuses, sexual orientations, religions, just to make sure that it's not going to say anything toxic. So this is like a toxicity detection here. In our instructions here, we're going to clearly define the instructions to give our AI guidance on how to generate this. So we want to greet the person. We want to use casual sales language. And we want to include, again, the products that we're incorporating here as well. In the email with a clear call to action for the recipient name to attend a short meeting. Currently, we're just going to use this date and time field, but down the road, that could be something that we replace with maybe a custom field on a user record. That would be a Calendly URL or a link to book through a Salesforce calendar or something like that. And then we generate the email. And I kept my solution very simple. I wanted to show how AI can be used to do a lot of the great stuff that us admins have been doing for a very long time, and how, when done correctly, it can save a lot of time, deliver personalized results, not only for our users, but for the customers that our users are supporting. And it can be scalable. Jen, back to you. That's my solution. That's how I did it.
Great. Thank you, Brandon. I absolutely loved all your presentations. I loved seeing how you all design and built your solutions in completely different ways. And yet you all tackled that same business challenge, either using out of the box features, app exchange with data fetcher, and unofficial community components, and loving all the use of those AI features. So this is what a real life admin work looks like. So now we're just going to quickly transition to Q&A to see if there's any questions whatsoever. I do want to, while we wait, open it up to all of you. What is like your all-time favorite feature to use when you're solving solutions? Who wants to go first?
I'll start. Oh, I'm just going to
I-
say really quick.
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Skye. Okay. Rock, paper, scissors. So I think we kind of saw in here, I like screen flows. And then when that data table came out semi recently, I feel like I use it on everything. So they're simple, but those are two of my regularly used items.
Right.
For
Skye?
the design part, for me, the 5 whys is the biggest piece, which is not a Salesforce functionality, but really just digging in and asking why as many times as it takes to get to the real need or to the root issue. And I think a lot of times a challenge for us as admins is we're so busy and we have so many requests that we sort of just take our users' feedback at face value. And it's like, oh, they need this, they need a button or they need a field. But really being able to ask why as many times as it takes to get to the real thing that you're trying to solve. It may take longer, but it's going to give your end users a better experience.
Great. And dear Brandon, anything to add?
Yeah, I love flow. It absolutely has been a game changer. I also um, do like utilizing formulas for just back end hidden items that don't necessarily have to be built out in Flow, but I can reference them in Flow. So, yeah.
Yeah, I will echo that. I was going to say, as someone who's developed things in Apex with classes and triggers, when flows got to the point where you didn't have to create Apex triggers anymore, I was like, oh, this is awesome. This is next level. And this year has been a journey for me in really embracing the new agent force stuff. And as someone who has been really old school with a lot of is my solutions, and even was slow to adopt flow, just because I think when the saying old habits die hard. It took a lot for me to even embrace flow, because my brain would always go, okay, I'm going to build that with a class and a trigger because flow's not there yet. Flow's not there yet.
Mhm.
Flow's not there yet. So I think flow has really become a go-to, and what I'm really embracing now is thinking about the things that we would do in a flow and how we can use even the newer framework of prompt builder to start doing some of those things, or even including some of those prompt builder features or flow inside of prompt builder. And those are things that I've really been challenging myself to really understand the relationship between and what's possible there.
Great. All right, we have one question, and I will answer that on behalf of all of us. This is from David. He asks, how long was each admin given to create these solutions? So I believe it was about a month that we gave the challenge, and these folks were able to come up with that solution. All right, so let's wrap this up. So let's recap what you just saw. We learned diverse solution design techniques from our 4 trailblazers, saw how they tackled the same challenge and gain insights on all the innovations that they brought to the table. Now, we know a business challenge and saw how those 4 awesome admins designed and solved it. Now it's your turn. How would you design it? So go to the link that you see on your screen that goes to a LinkedIn post and share with us how you would design the solution. And I can't wait to read your posts. And now it's your turn. Check out Data Fetcher and other free Salesforce Labs app on the App Exchange. Also, hit a trail and work on the distribute and implement flows trail in Trailhead, as well as get hands-on on the quick start for Prompt Builder. And read up on how to get started with Einstein Next Best Action. And if you like what you saw and want to see more of these trailblazers, watch their past How I Solved It episodes using the short link that you see on the screen. And I also want to give a shout out to our other series, Automate This, a monthly live stream where I feature a trailblazer who solves real world problems using automation. So it's interactive, just like this today's episode, and you can join live or watch an episode on demand after the broadcast. So check out the short link that you see on the screen. And talking about Automate This, our last Automate This episode of 2024 is next week on Wednesday with Bradley Condon. Use the short link to set the notification now and be reminded when we live stream. And get great content produced for you admins. Visit our website, admin.salesforce.com, to find the latest blogs, podcasts, and videos. Listen to the Admins podcast hosted by Mike Gerhold at all the places that you get your podcast content. And again, check out the How I Solved It playlist on our YouTube channel. And I want to thank all of you, Dee, Karri, Skye, Brandon, for being my guests on the live stream version of How I Solved It. You all were so awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you to all of you for joining us for this special episode of How I Solved It. I hope you enjoy it. Tell your friends about it. They can watch this on video on demand after the live stream at the same URL. And thank you.